seconds away on Studio 5.
You people and your God, you talk in circles.
We're on the set for the making of The Case for Christ.
This is me doing Lee Strobel and my best Ron Burgundy, you know.
And what the great I am says you are. Singer Jason Behr stops by for Studio 5 to sample his latest project.
That stage fright just seemed to keep surfacing and surfacing and surfacing, and I just would pray, God, help me find a way around this.
And then, this film brings together Matthew McConaughey, Reese Witherspoon, and Scarlett Johansson.
This is it, folks. You better be ready to work harder than you've ever worked in your lives.
Studio 5 is on board with Sing, starting now. And welcome to the show. We have 5 uplifting entertainment news stories you need to know about. We're counting them down throughout the show. Let's begin with number 5 and number 4. At number 5, garnering government action.
We don't know what our schedule's going to be with the doctor. We just have to be available.
Jennifer Garner takes a break from movies to address Congress.
Poverty is silent. I mean that quite literally.
The actress and mom urged legislators to support early childhood education.
A brain in poverty is up against it, I'm telling you. A child who is not touched, who is not spoken to, who is not read to or sung to in the first 5 years of his or her life will not fully recover.
At number 4, dancing with faith.
For week 1, Olympic great Simone Biles and partner Sasha Farber tangoed their way to the top of the judges' leaderboard, scoring all 8s. Just a point behind in second place, another athlete, football star Rashad Jennings and his partner Emma Slater.
Athletes Simone Biles and Rashad Jennings are top scorers on the dance floor and in faith. Both have shared their personal stories with us.
I was taught that you can go to him for anything, and he's the one that directs your life.
I try my hardest to live from a reference of scriptures and let that be my, mirror. Every day I got to be able to look in the mirror and say that's the guy that I'm trying to become.
Those are just the first 2, more to come in a bit. The Case for Christ is an award-winning story of an investigative reporter's unconventional journey to salvation. Lee Strobel was an atheist, a sworn enemy of religion. When his wife became a Christian, her faith put him on a 2-year investigation to prove her wrong. He never could have predicted how that journey would end. And the real-life tale is now a major motion picture.
There were so many reasons why I didn't want there to be a God, because I did not want to be held accountable.
Millions read Lee Strobel's The Case for Christ. The best-selling book is now a movie.
I've spent my entire career as a journalist uncovering the truth until the day my wife presented me with the biggest story of my life.
I'm not going to lose my wife and my kids to something that I can't even reason with.
And what happened next changed me forever.
To see your life put on a screen, not just random things from your life, but those emotional moments of the good, the bad, and the ugly. The conflict that we had after Leslie became a Christian, I was still an atheist, the arguments. To see that relived is difficult for us to watch.
There's a scene where Lee has this big argument with his dad, and that happened on the eve of graduation for him. And when that argument was over, he came over to my house. So I heard all about it. But this is the first time I actually observed it.
How can we even talk about historical evidence for the resurrection?
The Gospels are filled with contradictions.
The empty tomb is based on evidence.
Camera's gonna move to the end of the shot.
Our cameras were the only allowed on set, a recreation of the Chicago Tribune newsroom, where Lee, an investigative reporter, began putting faith on trial.
So you want your wife back? Well, hey, guess what? People in hell want ice water. Not everybody gets everything they want. Stop blaming me and the church and God and do your job. Stack up the evidence, follow the facts, and write the story, win or lose.
Actor Mike Vogel plays the role of Lee. He chatted with us between takes, and still in his 1970s and 80s wardrobe.
This is me doing Lee Strobel and my best Ron Burgundy. You know, it's been fun. It's been really, and it's great as an actor whenever you get to do a transformation like this, because it really helps throw you into the part.
Lee's transformational story really begins the day his wife falls in love with another man, Jesus.
Cough, baby. Cough, baby.
I don't know how to thank you. Thank you.
You don't have to thank me. I'm a nurse at Mercy Hospital. She's gonna be fine now. We're so lucky. Well, it's not luck. It's Jesus.
Leslie became a Christian, and Lee thought his world was ending. She dropped a bomb on him, right? He's this very much radical atheist who had no love for the church, no love for Christianity at all. And his wife comes home and says, I'm a Christian now.
When Leslie told me that she had become a Christian, the first word that went through my mind was divorce, because I didn't want to be married to a Christian. I was an atheist. I thought that Christianity was based on wishful thinking, on legend, on mythology, on make-believe. And I didn't want her to turn into some holy roller or something that I didn't marry. I married the one Leslie. It wasn't in the deal to change, you know. This was, you know. So I thought, I'm just going to walk out.
But instead of walking out, he launches an investigation.
When the soldiers thrust their spear between Jesus' ribs, do you know what came out? Blood and water, which we now know is a description of pericardial effusion as a result of death by asphyxiation. This is not a condition anyone could fake.
And so to answer your question, yes, it is my medical opinion that Jesus Christ died on that cross.
But beyond medicine and science, it's the heart of Lee's wife that leads him to the answers he needs. She refused to stop praying until her husband found the God she had.
And it really was the positive changes in her character and values that I found winsome and attractive over time. It used to be, you know, in the previous generations, apologetics was about putting somebody up against a wall and machine gunning them with answers. You know, it doesn't work anymore. It's about a story. It's about a relationship. It's about conversation and dialogue and relating to each other.
The love story that's at the heart of this movie is what really drew me to it. I loved the fact that this was a story that was taking a very honest approach to faith, but that the emotional stakes were embedded in a husband and wife who are separated by her belief and ultimately brought back together as he finds a common belief.
This is a love story that raises the hard questions.
If the resurrection of Jesus didn't happen, it's a house of cards.
Without fear of the answers.
The Case for Christ hits theaters April 7th.
Still ahead on Studio 5.
All that can be seen, there's still a voice of truth whispering.
Chart-topping singer Jason Behr sets the stage in this week's Studio 5, One to Watch.
And welcome back to Studio 5. It is time for number 3 and number 2 in the countdown.
At number 3, a new kid on Sesame Street.
For many of us, these opening notes are a trip down memory lane.
In a few weeks, Sesame Street, which now airs on HBO, as well as its longtime home on PBS, will take on its latest challenge. Introducing a new kid on the street, a Muppet named Julia, who has autism.
Hi, Elmo. Hi, Abby. Hi, Alan. Oh, who's this?
Oh, this is our friend, Julia.
I think it's great anytime that we can show disability as a natural part of our community and our environment.
At number 2, Demi thanks God.
God knows I try to feel happy for you.
Pop star Demi Lovato thanks God for her sobriety. In a recent Instagram post, she shares she's been sober for 5 years, noting in moments of temptation to relapse, she would sit on her hands and beg God to relieve the obsession.
We're joined now by Jason Behr, singer and songwriter. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
New album?
Yes.
Fearless.
Yes.
Why Fearless?
Because, to be honest, let me just start back at the beginning. For years, one of the biggest things that I have fought in my life and in my Christian walk was fear. There's so many people in the church that are just being attacked by this thing called fear. And it seems to be one of the biggest tools that the enemy is using to break us down, to hold us back, to keep us from achieving the things that God's called us to. And so I think the biggest message that I could bring right now to the body of Christ is, look, you can live fearless. Christ has already overcome.
Absolutely.
He's already been victorious, and he says you're victorious. And so I think that's kind of where it all came from, and I love sharing the message.
People will be surprised that you may have experienced fear, considering you were on a singing competition in 1993 at age 17, three-time Billboard Top 10 singer and songwriter as an independent artist.
Yes, independent.
How do you conquer fear and become that?
The funny thing is that during all of that, stage fright has been one of my biggest things. I have always just shuddered at the thought of getting up in front of people and singing, thinking that people would critique me or think that I wasn't good enough or couldn't write well enough or whatever it may be. But that stage fright just seemed to keep surfacing and surfacing and surfacing, and I just would pray, God, help me find a way around this. Even with the accolades, even with the successes, you still fight through those things. None of that changes it. It's, you know, you can top the Billboard charts as many times as you want to, but that little thing down inside still makes you think, am I good enough? Can I really do this? But somehow we just keep pushing, we keep fighting, and we give it the best that we have. And I've realized that God called me, and if He called me, then He equipped me.
Absolutely.
And so that means He's going to give me what I need to do exactly what He's called me to do. And so we just keep pushing through, and by the grace of God, He helps us make the connections and get the music in the right places and the right hands at the right time, so that we can have those successes. So.
One that I've been listening to from you, On This I Stand. Tell me about that song.
On This I Stand is kind of one of the token songs on this new record, Fearless, because it is the foundation for who we are as Christians and believers. And the one thing that we can go back to when fear tries to grip us and things try to overtake us is always remembering that God never changes. And no matter what you're facing, how big the mountain may seem, how difficult the situation is, God is never changing, and He's still bigger than that problem.
Do you have a favorite song?
Oh, goodness. I do. I have several favorite songs on this record.
What's
and
the one
today? The first
today?
time ever I can say that. But I think today one of my favorite songs on this record is called Mighty Redeemer. And the reason being is because we make so many decisions in our life. We make mistakes, we fail, we get back up, we try again, we fail again. But through it all, we serve a God that paid the price, the ultimate price. He showed us what mercy was when He gave His life on the cross. And so He took everything, every decision we make, all the right, all the wrong, whatever it may be, all the good, bad, the ugly, and He redeems every bit of it for His good.
In the times it's a struggle to believe, grace feels like it's somewhere out of reach. When failures are all that can be seen, there's still a voice of truth whispering, you are loved, you are redeemed, you are righteous, you've been made clean. There is nothing that can change or pull apart what the great I Am says you are.
My last question for you, as a songwriter, what's your process? How does it come to you?
Different ways. For the most part, sometimes it's something that inspires me, whether I see it in a movie or on a billboard somewhere, or just a thought that hits me while I'm driving down the road. And then somehow that melody and the chord progressions and the lyric just kind of all start forming. And then a lot of times it happens in co-writing sessions with people in Nashville or wherever, and we just sit in a room, and all of a sudden this genius idea comes into the room, and we know it's God speaking.
That's right, indeed it is. And the album, once again, is Fearless. Stay with us. There's more of Studio 5 straight ahead.
Still ahead on Studio 5.
My next show is gonna be, drumroll please, a singing competition.
voice sound familiar? Meet the all-star cast behind the hit animated film, Sing.
Koala bear salesman named Buster Moon. My imagination was running and I was sort of in.
Welcome back to Studio 5. We are continuing to count down the uplifting entertainment news stories this week. It is now time for number 1.
At number 1 this week, The Book of John Gray.
And we are here to celebrate Saturday Night Live.
Lakewood Church Associate Pastor John Gray has a new reality series on the OWN network.
Some people think you need to be perfect to be a preacher. I'm anything but. I hate this.
John hasn't taken the diabetes seriously. It scares me.
I'm fighting a war between light and darkness.
Pastor Gray gives viewers unprecedented and intimate access into his church and home life.
I preach light because I'm fighting the darkness on the inside of me. No matter what is going on in society, God has not forgotten about you.
The series premieres April 15th.
And that is number 1 in the countdown, but there is so much more ahead. Matthew McConaughey, Reese Witherspoon, Scarlett Johansson in a musical? Sing is an animated movie where animals show off their vocal skills in a competition to save the theater. In case you missed it, here's your first look.
Crazy old lizard.
Good morning, Mr. Moon. I got Judith from the bank on line 2.
Actually, I'm gonna have to call her back.
Koala bear salesman named Buster Moon. My imagination was running and I was sort of in.
My theater's been going through some pretty rough times. So, what do? A car wash?
He's got to come up with some brilliant idea to pull it off to keep the theater open.
My next show is gonna be, drumroll please, a singing competition.
One of the really great things about this movie, and in terms of why it's great for children, is there's a character in there that everyone will be able to relate to and get under the skin of.
This will be the biggest hit show this city has ever seen. Everyone gets a shot at being a star live on my stage.
The film has great characters that really teenagers can relate to, grandparents can see themselves on film, and I think it's a real joyful experience.
Would you please tell them what a good singer I am?
Oh yeah, you were great, honey. By the way, the bathroom sink is blocked again. Bye, honey.
She feels invisible, and she gets the flyer for this singing competition, and it gives her hope.
Okay, come on, you can do this.
I stay up too late. Got nothing in my brain.
The love of character and the character journey is what really drew me to wanting to work on this project.
How did I end up with a son like you?
Get you out! Dad, wait, I'll get the money, I promise!
My character, Johnny, is someone who absolutely loves singing, but his father is encouraging him to be a getaway driver for the gang that he's a part of. He's a part of a gang of bank robbing gorillas.
Could you ever be really close to me?
The songs I sing in the movie are just such great songs, and they really are done by brilliant, brilliant artists.
Stay with me.
And then there's Mina, the elephant, who has crippling shyness, and that is something that so many children have to sort of battle with.
And even though it all went wrong, I'll stand before the Lord of Song.
The main theme is really to not let fear stop you from doing the thing you love.
This is it, folks. You better be ready to work harder than you've ever worked in your lives.
Yes, that was very bad.
I love to sing, so what better movie to do than a movie called Sing?
Hallelujah. Do you think you could sing like that in front of a real audience?
So many lovely vocal performances in it. The whole thing just comes together brilliantly.
But here's my number, so call me maybe.
It's got such great humour to it.
Are you okay? Oh, yes, I'm fine, thank you.
It's really funny, and it makes adults laugh as well as kids, and I think everyone's going to love it.
A penny?
Everyone's going to be able to relate to something in this movie.
sorry.
And we're sharing this story because Sing is now out on DVD and digital download as of March 21st.
Up next on Studio 5.
Look, we've been friends for a long time, but some things are just none of your business.
Sitting down with a star of War Room for a lifting lesson you won't soon forget.
Welcome back to Studio 5. We are just about out of time for this week's show, so let's look ahead to next week.
Isn't it crazy how nothing's the same?
There's an amazing story behind this amazing voice.
After my brain injury, I couldn't memorize anymore. You've seen Finding Nemo? You know Dory?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, that's not an exaggeration. I would literally forget that I ate breakfast, go in the other room, and be like, oh, it's morning, and go back and eat another bowl of cereal.
Christabel Braden shines a light on brain injury and uplifts us all in the process.
There is beauty in a new life.
And that is just one story from next week's Rundown. Time now for the final word. We're going to hear from former football player turned actor, T.C. Stallings. He has a unique insight on what it means to give God total control of your life.
A belief is, it doesn't mean that, that God influences everything you do. It just means you know he exists and you believe in that. Well, James 2:19 says Satan feels the same way. He knows who Jesus is, but he ain't following him. And there's a lot of other different faiths that say that Jesus existed, but they don't believe that they need to follow him. They do what they want to do. And so, for a person who calls himself Christian, we got to bring that back to what it means. Christian, by definition, means Christ follower. That means you go as he goes. You do what he tells you to do. He influences everything. He leads everything. And for me, I was living with the belief. The thing is, I didn't know this about the lordship of Jesus in my life needing to be where he influenced all these things. I just thought that, hey, I didn't believe him before. Now I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. And so I'm good to go. I thought that was a finish line, but in fact, it was just a start.
So let's get started playing on God's team and make him not just Savior, but Lord of your life. That is the final word for this edition of Studio 5. Until next time, reach out and touch me at Ephraim Graham on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Snapchat. And then come on back and see where Studio 5 takes you next week. Bye-bye.